It wasn't very long ago that we heard about the Hammer and the Bana people groups in the southern part of Ethiopia. They are just now beginning to hear about the love of Jesus Christ. And we're talking about a people who still answer to chiefs and to witch doctors. They are controlled by fear, superstition. They practice some ancient tribal customs. Some of them are things like publicly beating of their wives, and we learned of even child sacrifice. Missionaries are beginning to establish a foothold in that area of the country called the Omo River Valley. Even still, there are less than 2% of the population who are Christian. So that means that technically they are considered an unreached people group. And since the focus of UP Global, Unreached Peoples Global, is on the unreached groups, we decided to visit some of the Christian leaders that we had heard about in a small village called Turmi. We were able to meet with 3 men who are the leaders of a small Bible school there in Turmi. They have 16 students from about 7 different tribes from all over the region, and they are being trained as what we would call evangelists. They call them storytellers. They undergo a couple months of teaching where they learn 6 to 8 stories from the Bible, and then they learn skills and then head home to check up on their families and tell them and their people about God's love. Then they come back to school for another 6 to 8 stories, and they grow in their understanding, develop their skills, and then they share orally back into their culture to people who do not know how to read and have previously no exposure to the gospel. We found the people of Turmi to be extremely gracious, very hospitable. The small group of believers there treated us as the most honored guests. They shared stories, of course, of what God is doing among their people in all of the tribes. And then they gave us a comfortable place to sleep. They even that night slaughtered a goat for us and roasted it over the open fire, and a night we'll never forget. The next morning, we traveled with Mateus, one of the leaders, to an even more remote village up in the mountains to the east to visit one of the student storytellers who had gone back to sharing the gospel with his people in his neighborhood, so to speak. Hundreds of people came out of curiosity just to see this helicopter that had landed in their field and to probably look at these white-skinned people. Through the translation of the evangelist, we asked who among them had come to believe in Jesus. And perhaps it was 50 to 70 people in that first year had given their lives to Christ and opened up their hearts in belief to Him. We began to preach to them about the love of Jesus as they touched our skin, and they studied us. And in my 40 years of missions work, I have never seen anything quite like that, interacting on that front line of gospel advance. It was nothing short of amazing to see people who have for so long been under the influence of darkness to be exposed to the light of the gospel of Jesus Christ. It was a tremendous experience. Well, we came away very impressed with the work of the leaders at Turmi Bible School. They've got a firm grasp on what it means to make disciples through personal relationships. Although it's still very much in its infancy, you can feel their plan and you can feel their confidence. They've got a clear purpose, and they know that God is going to make this work up against great difficulty. What they lack are resources. If the rest of the 98% of the Omo Valley people are going to hear the gospel of Jesus Christ, the school needs to create and print training materials. They need to provide food and housing for students on an ongoing basis. They need ways to communicate and travel long distances back to the most remote places in the valley. And they need people like us, you and me, to come alongside them and pray for them, serve them, help them, and join them in expanding the kingdom of God. Together, people in the West and people back in Ethiopia, we can make a difference in one of the most unlikely places on the earth, the Omo Valley of southern Ethiopia.